The tanks are rolling. The advance is progressing as in 1941. We are moving ahead so quickly that the Russian in some areas really is outflanked. But for the men and especially our tanks, this far advance and the territorial gain are not adventures. Every 50 kilometers a tank will break down and has to be cobbled together again. The repair platoons are performing unimaginable feats, but nevertheless manage over and over to get the steel giants moving again. For a few days now, I've been riding with the crew of Sergeant Unterstieg on the Panzer III. The comrades have quickly gotten used to me. The commander has confidence in me since he'd heard from the others that I'm a reliable tank gunner. It's not just the Iron Cross First Class on my tanker jacket that makes me stand out, but rather the story over the T-34 ride or other combat reports of my old crew. Yes, as an old hand, one has a certain reputation within the regiment. Nevertheless, I'd like to be back with my Isolde and Peter. I had a brief opportunity to talk to the current commander. The lieutenant leaves a good impression and has already accomplished some memorable kills. But he wants to, as long as he's in command of Isolde, keep his current tank gunner. I can understand this well. You somehow grow together. I also keep eyeballing our long-barrel tanks. That would be something. With those, one could really dish it out to the Russians without having to get close. Every 3 minutes, I'm with the new vehicles and catch myself behind the optic. The combat range is quite enormous. I think in battle, these would be the answer to the T-34s and also the KV-1s. But more than through Schmidt, to be in the ear of the captain in order to get into a crew with a long barrel isn't possible. We shall see. The days just fly by. It's a recurring sequence of marching and fighting. When fuel gets scarce, it means wait and look for a night quarter. There are hardly any counterattacks. Here and there, planes attack. I hear from Schmidt that we're supposed to advance further in the direction of the oil wells. When we have taken these, the Russian will be finished and we'd be able to produce our own fuel for the tanks here in the depths of Russia. That would be something. And the Russian would puff his cheeks. Let's hope that the supply train will deliver enough supplies till then. Here and there one can catch some news. 4 more new Panzer IV Long are supposed to join our unit. They will be here in a few days. It's sad. Will that be so? In the evening, an anti-tank gun platoon arrives at our staging area. I have a lively conversation with the crews. Nice guys from the anti-tank unit. We make a date for an introduction on the 75mm anti-tank gun the next day. Early in the morning, after a meager breakfast and lukewarm malted coffee, I'm back with comrades of the anti-tank gun. They bring a cannon into fire position for me and the gunner explains the procedures and target acquisition to me. The gun barrel already sports a few kill marks and the gunner, his name is Günther, has been through quite a bit. Especially in the winter 1941-1942, in the defensive position, they had their hands full to keep shooting down Russian tanks which had broken through. And such a 75mm you can just turn around if a tank rushes past. With nearly 1.5 tons of weight, that's not possible. There, the side traverse has to be sufficient. Günther explains to me that a well-trained crew is able to bring up to 15 rounds per minute onto the enemy. That's really a considerable speed. He tells me that earlier he had the 50mm anti-tank gun. With that, they had been able to change position with just the crewman. But the big anti-tank guns can only be towed. Later, I take the troop over to our Panther III and explain to them how things work inside a tank. Günther remarks that inside here one was pretty well protected, at least against infantry fire and artillery shrapnel. I can confirm that, but I also tell him what happens if one is really hit. Old memories of our shot-up tank come back inside me. Images that I had long suppressed. Good comrades had fallen back then. It's a high price that we have to pay, and it only keeps going. I'm being assigned to the 4th Detachment and serve there as a tank gunner in the Panther III. The word goes around it's supposed to go to the Terek River with all our might. The march is headed toward Nevinoyaskya. We even have 2 of the new Panzer IVs along. Swiftly, it goes across a ridge and further in a southerly direction. We are the tip of the spear of the regiment and are driving like the devil. On the top of a ridge, the company is halted over radio. The commander is standing in the turret and calls us to the top. With binoculars in front of our eyes, we can recognize Mount Elbrus. My goodness, what a view in the morning sun, an unforgettable image. But now, further and down into the valley over the meadows of the steppe, several tanks are put out of service. Not due to the enemy action, but rather an entirely different problem. They are overheating. We found out that the pollen from the flowers of the steppe are responsible for this. Filters are replaced and the vehicles need to cool down. Some are able to continue, and in broad wedge formation we approach the city. Already we receive fire, but the anti-tank guns positioned at the edge of town are eliminated by our long-barreled Panzer IVs. An airfield comes into view. The planes are standing in peacetime-like fashion on the runway. We fall out with 2 Panther IIIs and attack the airplanes. Now Ivan is awake. One can see pilots running to their planes. We shoot, but the shots aren't accurate enough. Therefore, we need to get closer. Another Rata bursts into flames. 2 appears to take off, or at least try to. We get closer and already we are on the runway. The tank of our comrades turns away to the left and is attacking a plane. We take on the other one. The commander gives the order by radio to drive straight toward the starting Rata. Bow and turret machine gun are sending their greetings in the direction of the plane, but it keeps rolling on. The commander closes the hatch and we button up. The driver still yells out, "Hang tight!" Suddenly a loud bang. The tank rocks dangerously. We roll on a few more meters, then we stand still. Our tank's on fire. We can't get out of the turret hatch. Therefore, we climb down to the driver and bail out. All are outside and no one is injured. Now we see the mess. We raced through the fighter plane and thereby destroyed it completely. The fuel splashed onto the tank and caught fire. Quickly we throw sand on the tank and are able to suffocate the flames that way. All 4 planes have been destroyed. They won't be able to annoy us anymore. Our overheated tank catch up and secure us against possible assaults from inside the small city. 1 track is ran off and we get on with the repair. Our tank took a beating, but it's tough. I look at the wreckage of the Russian plane and see the half-burned body of the pilot lying underneath the engine block. He made an attempt. I might have done the same thing in a hopeless situation. 2 hours later, our supply train is on site and we roll on. Small pockets of resistance are put down. The battle over the train station commences. One locomotive still tries to steam off the east, but a quick shell into the boiler prevents that plan. Captured some decent loot once again. Onward it goes. The goal is the railroad bridge across the Kuban. A short situational briefing. Only 4 tanks are being brought forward to take the bridge. One Panzer IV long is still with us. The other one broke down. We see the bridge. A small hole is gaping in the center. That must be from an air attack, but the company commander decides to take the bridge by surprise. If that might work, the Panzer IV and a further Panzer III are assigned as safety and are able to take the opposite bank under fire. There 2 bunkers have been spotted, but after a few shells in their direction, no more movement can be seen. With 2 tanks, it's supposed to go across. A suicide mission. Down below, a depth of 40 meters, the Kuban is rushing and foaming underneath the bridge. The water from the Caucasus flows through here. Whoever falls in there has bought it. I'm not feeling comfortable with this matter. The company commander drives in the lead. We are right behind. I think to myself that such an important bridge would have to be blown up for sure. They are probably waiting till we are in the middle, and then off it goes. The bridge is gone. I strip the thoughts out of my head and concentrate on the orders from the commander. The driver gets us onto the bridge fine. At a fast pace it goes on. It takes seemingly forever to get to the opposite side. Fortunately, there's no detonation and no shelling. We've simply advanced too fast. The Russian hadn't expected us. On the other side of the bridge, we establish a small bridgehead. We position ourselves left and right of the bridge and utilize small depressions in the ground for cover. But we have to stay put. The motorcycle unit is supposed to come and secure alongside us. There it gets going again. Small units of Russian troops are attacking. Apparently, they only armed with rifles and some hand grenades. Therefore, they can't accomplish anything against us. They manage to get within 50 meters of us, but then their assault withers in the crossfire of our tanks. The Panzer IV long on the other side of the river is still able to shoot 2 trucks and a radio car on fire, which obviously had attempted to escape. Then it gets quieter, and finally the motorcycle unit arrives. We have this city in our hands. The staff and supply train are already looking for quarters. It's still supposed to go on to the oil fields. This country is so huge and it does not seem to want to end.